Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Paul. Hopefully you're having an amazing day. Well, I've got some really good news for you. The GPU shortages are getting a lot better, and I've actually got two very positive news stories to share with you. One is an exclusive. We'll get into that one in just a moment. But first, let's discuss a Gizmodo article. I'll link it, of course, in the video description. It states that Sichuan, which is a province inside of China, are massively cracking down on cryptocurrency farming. And how are they doing this? Well, in a couple of different ways. For one, they have contacted crypto miners to tell them that they've only got a few days to cease operations, which is leading to some very interesting things regarding sale of hardware. I'll get further into that in just a second. But further to this, as we all know, when you are farming cryptocurrencies, it's not exactly light in terms of power consumption, which is obviously, one really big argument against crypto farming because it's not necessarily great for the environment, although of course you could be using renewable energy. But too long didn't read. China has essentially started to contact electricity suppliers, and they have said that if they have a customer which is known to be a, miner, well, to basically cut them off. And obviously, you could start getting your own power generators and that type of thing, but that would be a massive undertaking. So I'm sure you can imagine what type of impact this is having on people who are operating within Sichuan. And China themselves, just as a general rule for the country, have been really, adversarial when it comes to Bitcoin, Ethereum, and any other cryptocurrency. So what does this mean? Well, it means that the mining operators inside of this province have basically started to sell off their hardware. And this is leading to some very interesting things because they need to get rid of the hardware super duper quickly. So this of course means that they are even in some cases exporting it to other states, including even the United States of America. I believe it was like Maryland or something like that that was grabbing some of this hardware, and they are doing so at bargain basement prices. Now, further to this, when it comes to the light hash rate cards, well, they are starting of course now to trickle out. It's commonly thought that there is kind of a date that these cards are going to find their way to the market, but that's not really true. Basically what's happening is that, well, essentially as companies like Zotac, MSI, i.e. AIBs are provided the hardware, then what's essentially going to happen is that the non-hash rate limited GPUs will be essentially replaced by the, hash rate versions, or light hash rate versions. And so this is already starting to have a trickle out effect. And I'm already starting to hear of people returning their GPUs to stores because they got unlucky, or we got lucky, I guess it depends on your perspective, and they actually picked up a light hash rate card. Now, this does bring me to my exclusive and to some kind of bad news concerning cryptocurrency, but it's actually long-term good, I promise. So, yeah, if Amy was covering just a few days ago that prices, especially for Nvidia GPUs, are starting to get better. They are still over MSRP, but compared to the craziness that we saw, just a couple of months ago, things are considerably improved. But, to my understanding, there's going to be a blip. And I'm letting you guys know about this because I don't want anyone to panic, although of course you should still be watching things like a hawk. And I'm getting a couple of people now asking me, is now a good time to buy or should you just hold out? Because obviously if you see a card and you see it 50%, just for example, over MSRP, there is that temptation to just jump on it, right? Like, if you see a card that's retailing at $500 and you see it for say 700, 750, but all of this time it's been normally like 1,000, 1,500, it could be almost tempting to grab it for this ridiculous MSRP, which is kind of depressing when you think about it. But anyway, too long didn't read. I was told that early July there are going to be shortage issues, and this is being caused by several things in the supply chain. However, to my understanding, it is going to be a short-term issue. I was told that it's going to most likely take place, or affect rather, excuse me, early July, but it's going to definitely constrain supply for Nvidia cards and possibly AMD cards, although I'm not so sure about AMD hardware. But as we move towards the end of July, certainly into August, things are going to get much better. So the great news is that if you are in the position of like still deciding whether you should pick up a card or not, I would just wait, honestly. I would just kind of wait and see how things go. And obviously if you can get lucky and you can pick up one of the cards at kind of like close to MSRP price, then great. I do think we are starting to get over the crest. And I do feel that over the next couple of months, things will get better. I don't think we're going to be in the situation where you can just, you know, kind of go to, what is it you guys have in the US, like Fry's Electronics, the US have, Canada has like Canada Computers, whatever. I don't think you're going to be in the situation where you can just kind of go in and see like a massive stock of RTX 3080s or whatever on store shelves. And I do suspect that certain cards are still going to be very short in supply. However, I think that as we are moving into the latter part of this year, things are going to improve considerably. And it's interesting too, because, you know, from my talks with Nvidia, they are now pushing the RTX 3080 Ti, of course, as the premium gaming product, and the RTX 3090 as kind of more content creation product. So, you know, the 3090 has been actually not so bad to get hold of. I know a few friends who ended up just picking up a 3090 because the 3080s were either just like, good luck to you. If you manage to pick up a 3080, you should also just play the lottery because you probably would win with your luck that day. And you know, it's a very interesting time in the market. So I'm very interested to see how this plays out over the next couple of weeks, and certainly over the next couple of months. I'm hoping that the blip in supply doesn't last too long. But overall, you know, there are a lot of reasons that we are starting to see the issues get better. Obviously, the mining limitations on RTX 30 series, the crashing cryptocurrency just as a general thing. And also just simply supply is getting better, particularly when it comes to components such as substrate. And now obviously, you know, AMD have managed to gobble up more manufacturing capability over at TSMC. Again, you know, as I was telling you guys like 2-3 months ago, this stuff takes time to kind of go through, you know, work its way through the, you know, the pipe work. It's not like, oh, TSMC have allocated, you know, even if TSMC were to magically, you know, this is a ridiculous statement, but let's say they were to magically be able to increase capacity tomorrow by like 10 times, which again is not possible, but let's just say, just for a second it was. Well, yeah, but then you still have to actually grab the rest of the supply, but even if you were to say that that was possible, then it's the assembly, the shipping, it still takes quite a while for this stuff to kind of trickle through. Either way though, I'm really happy about this news. And hopefully it's going to bring some excitement. I think the GPU market, you know, has been kind of like languishing for a while. And it's a shame because if you've been watching the channel for any length of time, you'll know that GPUs are kind of like my love. I absolutely love computer graphics hardware, I always have. And it kind of really started with like the Voodoo cards back in the day. And keeping on the subject of graphics hardware just for a moment, I did want to touch a bit on FSR. So yeah, FSR has been quite well received. I am doing a little bit of testing myself on this, but it's been kind of held back by some other projects I've been working on. But, you know, overall I do feel that FSR is actually doing its job rather well for AMD. And I feel that, you know, your appreciation of FSR is really going to kind of depend on how you anticipated it would be going in, like kind of what your expectations are. But there are some very interesting things, and one of them is that a couple of games developers have now gone on record and said just how quick it is to implement FSR into their game title, just a couple of hours in one case, which is absolutely ridiculously quick. And also AMD have provided a breakdown of how expensive it is to run FSR on a per frame basis, and I think you can just agree that the cost, again, this is on a per frame basis, you know, at the millisecond cost, well, you can kind of label it in a very technical term of bupkis, you know, if you really consider it compared to other traditional effects. And I feel that AMD have done really well here. I think that the lower quality settings, you know, for high performance are not necessarily something that a lot of people would want to kind of, you know, use, but 4K, the high quality ones, My personal opinion, it's basically free performance, and I think that it's really well implemented. But I also wanted to tell you guys something else that I've been hearing. And as you are likely aware, FSR, well, it's FSR version 1. But I am hearing that AMD might also be working on another version internally which actually does support motion vectors. Now, I'm not 100% certain whether this is true, so I'm not going to make a really big deal of it in this video. I'm just more putting it out there for your kind of FYI. However, 2 sources have told me that they believe that this is going to be the case. What I'm less clear about, though, is whether it's going to have the full compatibility of, let's say, Polaris, the RX 480 and other cards, or whether it's going to be in more modern solutions. Because what I had been told, you know, back when I was leaking a lot of RDNA 2 and RDNA 3 information, was that, you know, AMD's upsampling technology would improve with the later generations of cards. So I don't know whether it's specifically that they're going to incorporate something for FSR, or whether it's going to be an entirely different solution that does incorporate motion vectors or not. But yeah, I think it's really interesting to see how FSR is going to be shaping up. I am actually quite positive on it. I don't think it's going to be a DLSS killer. I think that, you know, there is room in the market for both. And in my personal opinion, the real win-rah here is definitely for consoles. I think that the PlayStation 5, the Xbox, you know, you can make a really good argument of just being able to incorporate those. And it'll be interesting for me anyway, given how quick these solutions are to incorporate, whether we're going to see, you know, titles that do end up getting patches which essentially do support FSR, or whether it's just going to be kind of an additional quality mode. Now, obviously, FSR is not the only upsampling tech in town. You know, you've got checkerboard rendering, which is what Sony heavily push, and even Unreal Engine, of course, with its own solution with UE5. However, additional solutions are only ever a good thing, and I'm very interested to see how AMD really push this tech. I think, if anything, it's a massive marketing win for AMD, that is FSR, and I do feel that they kind of fudged the marketing, you know, the messaging just for a little bit, but I think they've since picked the ball back up, and I think that they're doing a really good job with it, and I do feel that the fact that they're making it completely open source is a huge win, you know. I remember when I was kind of interviewing Frank Azer, and we were kind of discussing a lot of the technology that, you know, at AMD they kind of wanted to just push the graphics forward for everyone, and I think that they are doing this. And I'll be also interested to see whether Nvidia actually offer any comparable solutions, or whether they're just going to continue to push DLSS. I know that Nvidia are really pushing DLSS, and the fact that it has motion vectors and, you know, the additional quality for it. And although they are both upsampling solutions, you know, they are kind of targeting different niches. So again, I think, you know, the outcome of this is going to take a couple of months minimum to kind of understand. And unfortunately, one weak area I do feel about FSR is that I wish, in a way even, AMD had held back the launch a couple of more weeks, maybe even a month or something, for other titles such as Resident Evil Village to have supported it, as I do feel that the honestly kind of not great lineup of games has somewhat hurt the publicity around it. I think that there was kind of a lot of negativity there, but the studios which do support FSR is really good, at least in my opinion. Anyway, I think I've rambled enough in this video. If you've enjoyed it, you know what to do. Leave a likey on the video, and of course, comment down below what you think of FSR if you have tried it out, especially given it does work on AMD and Nvidia cards. It works on like a GTX 10 series card, RX 480 or something like that. So let me know what your opinions are of FSR so far. And I'll see you soon. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.